So, starting my podcast back up again, it's been a little bit of a challenge. Um, this is really hard because I already did the video and you couldn't hear me in the background. So I have to do it again. And so it's really hard to do it again because it's live. And so that was how I was feeling 3 minutes ago. And so now I don't I don't have the same feelings about it, but I'm going to try to, do the content for the content that I was trying to get to. Um, and what I was explaining is that I've decided to do my podcast outside. I usually do my podcast on the inside, and it took me a while to get to this point because I have several hats that I wear, and they're by choice. But it takes a lot of effort, energy, time, thought, and that doesn't include my personal life, right? Of what I do for me or my family. With that being said, it's I was spending a lot of time over in my other lane, and I knew that Just Boss needed to happen. And I was working gently behind the scenes. I was working gently, the new logo and tags, working very gently, but I wasn't over here as much as I should be, could be. Maybe not could be, but should be. And it wasn't until my cousin said to me, "Hey, Cal, you still doing your podcast?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And then someone else asked me, and I said, "Yeah, you are. You are." And I knew I was working up to this moment. I knew that. I knew everything that I was doing on the other end of Kelly Boss. I knew what I was working on over there. I had to clear that and make that make sense so that I could focus back to Just Boss. And sometimes having to pause something else to keep moving something else in its direction and then jumping back over, and it might not be for everyone. Some people would say to me, "What are you doing? Like, are you pattern drafting? Are you making pants? Are you making skirts? Are you making evening gowns? Are you doing fashion shows? Are you have a clientele? Are you gardening? Are you making food? Are you making biscuits? Are you on your podcast? What are you doing?" And me, I'm like, all of it, all of it, all of it, every bit of it. Because what else is there to do except whatever the desire in my heart is? And I've always operated that way. I've always been a little bit against the grain. I've always been different. So if everyone was going this way, I'm going that way. I've always been that way. And so when someone says, well, you need to narrow it down. I mean, you need to, some people may need to. I'm not that person. And then maybe because all the things are important to me, maybe all these hats I'm wearing are equally as important to me. And so I don't want, I want to be empty. I don't want to have a full cup all the time. I want my cup empty so that it can be filled. And so what I do on one hand over there, that's fulfilling. And then what I do over here for that, that's fulfilling for the people receiving and giving. So you have to be able to make your own mind up what works for you, as long as it is not hurting, offending, or intruding on other people. Have a good time doing what you do. Gosh, the world can be so complicated to me sometimes because I always feel like there needs to be this disclaimer, like accept, but I don't have the patience or time for that. So, I hope that if you're watching this, you're in a mature enough space to understand that that's within reason and, all that other good stuff, right? Doesn't mean, hey, going out there and choking the life out of a plant makes me feel good. I'm going to do it. Like, that's not what I mean, right? So anyway, that is what you need to do, the things that you enjoy. A friend of mine once told me years ago that a cemetery is full of hopes and dreams and visions that people never finished or even began. What else is there to do if they say in the dash, the day you were born, the day you leave, and there's a dash? What did you do in that dash? And realistically, I understand there's some things we have to do in life, like support ourselves, and eat, all that other good stuff. And, resources are to be made in order to do that. But not all 24 hours belongs to that. My dad taught me 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, 8 hours of rest. And, I divide it up a little bit differently. I may not do 8 hours, get 8 hours of rest, and that's by choice. I just can't sleep for 8 hours, right? But I make sure that I divide it up. And so if there is work, and I know most people probably don't work 8 hours anymore, maybe it's 10, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, you have to carve out time for you and your dreams, your hopes, your visions, even with the children, the family, the pets, the vacation. You have to find out if you love painting nails and you love gardening and you love washing cars, if you love fixing cars, if you like, whatever it is, you have to carve that time out to do that. We all have some level of creativity inside of us, something else besides work, money. We have things inside of us that make us happy. Cabinet building, plumbing. We have things, right? And whatever that is, you have to carve out time to do that. I call it therapy. My neighbor says to me, she says, "Oh, I see you're in your greenhouse and you're working on your garden." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And people should be very concerned if I'm not working on my garden, because my garden is my peace and my solace. I go in there to talk to the little plants and all the other stuff to keep myself together. Be concerned if I don't open that greenhouse and I ain't going in there. And so I find these avenues that I enjoy, that is my call, my charge, what is inside of me, the things that I know that I am supposed to do. And although I have other responsibilities that are around that, I had to learn how to put those things on the outside of that, because everything I wanted to do came second or third or fourth. And I had to now put that in the forefront, because I was not happy when it was fifth or third. I was not happy. And I was very, very resentful. And so when you have something that is in your mind and in your heart, and it's calling you, you're not sleeping, every time you see someone else do it, you're like, "Oh, I could have done that. Oh, I do that." When you see it, or someone says, "Hey, are you doing, those are little reminders. Those are little cues. When my cousin called and said, "Cal, you still doing your podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." And I was slowly, in my heart, in my mind, but I was still dealing with Kelly Boss, because I had to do some stuff over there, and I had to, but I never put one down. I can't put one down, because they are all me. And so they're all my vision. And so when people will say to me, "You need to narrow it down. You need to figure out what you want to do. You just can't do this, this, and this." And I listened, and I even tried. And then I was even more miserable, because I did want to roll pasta and make it into a video and show people that I made pasta. I wanted to show people how to make pasta at home to save them money. And it's like, well, what does that have to do with what you're doing on the other side, or sewing, or whatever? I don't know. It all makes me feel good. I guess it'll make someone else feel good. It all saves me money. It all helps me eat clean and healthy. And I don't know. I guess I enjoy it. Maybe someone else will. I can't be the only person on this entire planet. And so, and so it doesn't always have to make sense to other people. It just needs to make sense and feel good, and be of benefit to you, and benefit to the people that does make sense to. Right? That's why you can go on social media and see, small scale number here, 10 people doing the same exact thing, but yet differently, and have a different following, because some people may like the way they do it, and the way they do it, and the way they do it, and they can identify with that person, but I can't identify with that person, and I cannot. And that's why, because there is a group out there just like you somewhere, waiting for you to do something, waiting for you to be the next person that does t-shirt designs. And there's tons of people. I don't even know if it's thousands of billions, but there's tons of people making t-shirts, probably thousands, millions. And so making t-shirts, but they're not you, and they can't teach like you, and people won't attract to them like you. And so you have to dig down deep, find the courage. And trust me, I'm preaching to the choir, child, because I have to tell myself too, because if I was to post some of the bloopers before this, and there was one part where I just sat there and was like, oh my goodness. All right, here we go. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. Not just getting on a video or a podcast or doing anything like that. It's not easy making your dreams happen. Especially when you're the only one with your pom-poms like, yay. And you're making it happen. And when someone else, you're explaining it to them like, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is, and they're just looking at you like, oh yeah, I got it. And you just, so after a while for me, I'm just like, and so because I have to keep myself encouraged to do the things that I want to do. And it feels really good because I'm creating a life of happiness for me and create a life of happiness for you by any means necessary, as long as it doesn't impede, hurt, or bother other folks, or disturb them, right? And you get what I'm saying? Enjoy the dash, right? Enjoy the dash. Hey, that's all I got. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me today. There'll definitely be more. Stay safe, be well, be blessed.